All right. So did you guys download this that I sent to you by email? Did you download this? Did you get the whole, however many pages they are? Because we'll need this to start today. All right. I see several yeses. That's great. So let's start with an exercise. And hopefully you have a pen and a piece of paper with you. I want you to write down 3 things that you want to achieve this year. Go ahead and write down on your piece of paper. You can also use the chat box. So you can go ahead and type in the chat box right now. What are 3 things that you want to achieve this year? 3 things you want to achieve this year. Go ahead and drop that in the chat box. I'm waiting. I don't see any responses. And you guys know, if you're new to this webinar, if there are no responses, we don't move to the next slide, right? We need responses to move to the next slide. So what are 3 things that you want to achieve this year? And I'm talking about specific IMG goals, career goals. So most of you on here are probably seeking a residency position. So keep that in the forefront of your mind. What are 3 things that you want to achieve this year? Have you written those down? Have you written those down? Have you written those down? All right. So I need answers in the chat box, okay? You need to tell me what 3 things you want to achieve this year in the chat box as much as you write them on your piece of paper, okay? Okay, matching. So that's a vague goal. Matching is a vague goal. There's so many things that come to that. Before you match, you need to get interviewed, right? All right. Pass step 1, get research on my CV, pass my 3rd year of medical school, complete step 1, step 2, step 3, start residency this year, match, get the visa, passing step 1, passing step 3, passing step 1. Okay. So a lot of you are clear on what you want to achieve. My next question for you, though, is what are 3 things that are standing between you and one of your goals? So take your first goal. Tell me 3 things that are standing between you and that goal. What is it that is, for example, standing between you and doing a research project? What is it that stands between you and passing step 2? What is it that stands between you and matching, for example? Even though matching is a very vague term, it's very broad. So, but what is the one thing that's standing between you and your goal? So I have someone write finance, study time, information, poor time management. Okay. So we all have 24 hours in a day, fear of past failures, limited due to medical school schedule, health. Okay. Study time. I'm seeing a theme here. There's a lot of time, right? Time management or the lack of time. Visa rotation. So a rotation that offers or takes care of your visa. Fear of failing. Okay. Finding research opportunities. Okay. So I see a lot of responses, not enough information, US clinical experience, finances, poor time management, fear of failing. So if you notice, you are not alone. You are not alone in how you feel about the obstacles that are in your path. But the question is, what are you going to do about them, right? And that's hopefully why you are here with me today. So for those who are just joining in, who don't know anything about what we're doing here today, I want to welcome you. This is my monthly session that I have with students of the IMG Roadmap course. We meet here and I answer questions. We discuss different items. We talk about different things, usually always pertaining to your preparation into residency, okay? Now, who am I and why am I doing this is probably what you have questions about. I'm Dr. Loom. I am an IMG. I was a visa requiring IMG because I'm from Cameroon in West Africa. But beyond that, I completed residency on a J1 visa and did my waiver requirement in Kentucky while practicing as a hospital medicine physician. So I matched in family medicine in 2012, and graduated in 2015. I also host the course, IMG Roadmap, and I'm an author of Still MD and Beyond Challenges. Those are 2 books that I've written in the past. But more importantly, I spend a lot of time on the internet empowering and encouraging IMGs who have diverse goals that they want to achieve, which really drive down to the point of fulfilling our passion and our purpose and becoming physicians here in the States, right? So if you are new here, welcome. We just did the Ask 3 questions, and I asked 3 questions: what's standing between you and your goal, or what are your 3 goals this year? And then what's standing between you and your goals? Now, the things that really resonate with every single one of us is I understand exactly what you're talking about. I had that same concern of time management, fear of failing, lack of finances is a huge thing, okay? And not finding opportunities because maybe you have a visa and all these other limiting steps that can come in the way. Now, you may also have other things in your way that you haven't really pinpointed yet. For example, you may be thinking that, oh, you're from a low-tier Caribbean school. What are your options, right? You may be thinking this is the 3rd, the 4th time that you're going through the match. What are your options, right? You may be thinking that you're not competitive enough. You don't have the great score. So that's why you're looking for research. You're looking for all these other things to add on to your arsenal to make you better, right? And those are not wrong things. But what I want you to do today is I want to give you some key tools that you can apply so that you can start checking off these boxes that you need to check off. So why did I say, let's come together and talk about your most challenging tasks? Whenever you have a goal, your goal starts off with the vision, right? You have this grand scheme of what you want out of your life. So you look at social media, you know physicians, you've seen the landscape of practice in the US, and you decided this is what you want to do. You want to be a physician in the United States. You want to be a physician in practice. You also want to be a resident. You actually want to help people. You want to open a practice. You want to be a surgeon. You want to be a gynecologist. You have these dreams of being able to help people through healthcare. Those are great dreams. But on and all, it all takes small steps, cumulative small steps in order to achieve your goal. What happens is we take this one big dream and we make it so big, so insurmountable that we cannot get over the hump, right? So the key things, the action plans that I want to give you today are really around self-development. So there are things that you can do as an individual to increase your likelihood of completing your tasks. Number 1 is self-discipline. You absolutely need self-discipline in order to achieve any goal. So the first thing is self-discipline. In order to be self-disciplined, you need to be clear about what you're going for, which is why I asked you, what are your top 3 most challenging tasks that you have to complete? That could be step 1, step 2, step 3, right? You may have already done step 1 and you didn't do great. Now you're trying to get a higher score on step 2. You need self-discipline in order to check off that box. Now, self-discipline is the ability to make yourself do what you need to do in the time that you allotted to do it. So self-discipline looks like I have a task and I decide that I have 20 minutes today to answer 15 questions on the USMLE World Q Bank, for example. And self-discipline is making myself do that in 20 minutes and then taking another 2 hours to review that with no interruption, managing my time, and ensuring that I'm fully focused and intentional in that moment about what I am doing. So in order to achieve self-discipline, you have to master your time. So that's the next thing, time management. In order to master your time, you need to know how you currently spend your time. So a lot of us want to like change all these things on the surface, right? But we need to go back to the nitty-gritty. Self-discipline is the first step. In order to gain self-discipline, we need clarity. In order to gain clarity, we write out our goals. When you write out your goals, then you strategize them from number 1 to number whatever your last number is, but keep them small. So top 3 at a time. Then the next step after that is time management. In order to manage your time appropriately, you need to first of all understand how you currently use your time. Because we all have 24 hours in one day. What I tell myself is the most brilliant people have 24 hours in one day. Einstein had 24 hours in one day. The physician that I may admire had 24 hours in one day. Beyonce has 24 hours in one day, right? All these people who are achieving great things things that we consider great have the same amount of time. So you first want to take account of what you do with your time right now. So that may look like writing down every hour what you did. So you may start tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. You could say, I wake up at 6:30 in the morning. Each hour, I'm going to write what I did with my time. Okay. And then that way you can keep an account of how you spend your time. And then you can look for chunks of time that you can create, because life is all about creating things, creating opportunity, creating experiences, creating how you want things to turn out. Okay. So in order to first manage your time, you need to first take account of the current time that you've been spending and using and how you're running through that. So you're going to keep tab of every hour, and then you're going to come back and say, how can I make more time out of my 24-hour time period? So that may look like, oh, I spent 3 hours on social media, or I spent 1 hour talking to family on the phone, or I spent 2 hours at the grocery store, or I spent, X number of hours in the waiting room of such and such. And then you can find out how you can steal back that time. Areas where you lose time, hitting the snooze button is one. Being on your phone between tasks is one. So you could be doing the laundry and cooking at the same time. The fact that you're using your phone consistently through that, you are losing time, more time, by doing multiple tasks at once. Okay. So in order to achieve your most challenging tasks, you're going to write them down from the most difficult to the least difficult. And then you're going to practice self-discipline, which is the ability to make yourself do what you need to do within a set period of time. And then the next step is you're going to take account of your time. And the only way to do that is to find a record of what you've been doing in the past and create new chunks of time. So what can I eliminate from my schedule in order to get more time? All right. Next thing is to begin with small steps. So for example, the person who's studying for step 2 and wants a higher score than step 1, first you need to identify why you had a low score in step 1. And then you need to identify what you could do differently, how you can study differently, maybe use a Q bank differently, maybe get a tutor, maybe read through and use videos to accompany your study method. Okay. And then what you're going to do with that is you're going to say, instead of, trying to eat the whole Q bank of 2,500 questions in one go, I would take a 30-day time frame, and I would say if there are 2,000 questions in my Q bank and I have 30 days, 2,000 divided by 30 equals the number of questions I need to answer a day. And then you work your way backward like that. Okay. And you space your study time out to where you have ample time before your test to do a pre-test like the NBME. And you say, hey, maybe step 1, I did only 1 NBME. Now I'm going to do 2 or 3 NBMEs. Okay. So self-discipline, time management, and then small steps. Okay. Other things that come in the way between you and what you want is procrastination. You may hear about, oh, there's a webinar going on, or Lum's in a webinar on how to find research opportunities. But then instead of joining that webinar, you procrastinate, I'll catch the replay, right? What happens? You never watch the replay because life happens, right? Another thing that comes in the way is taking on too much more than you think you can handle. Okay, let me rephrase that. Or taking on much more than you can handle because you think you can handle them. A lot of us overcommit ourselves. So you want to do all the acting internships. You want to do all the rotations. You want to volunteer. You also want to work at a hospital. You also want to volunteer at your church. You want to do everything at once. You have to prioritize. Prioritize the tasks that are important for this season. So you may have to cut off some other tasks that are not helping you to your goal now and prioritize the tasks that will get you to the next place. And some of you have responsibility. You have to work, you have to take care of the kids. Well, can you ask for help? Is there help that you can bring in? All right. And if that's not an option, then you prioritize that, meaning you have to let go of some other tasks that are no longer serving you in that season. So procrastination is a huge obstacle, right? But overachievers like we are, we tend to add on more tasks. So maybe simplify your day. right? Instead of thinking that you're going to do a Q bank today, you're going to do some research online about research positions and clinical rotations. You're going to send out some emails, break it down. On Monday, you send out emails for your networking. On Tuesday, you send out emails for research. On Wednesday, you send out emails looking for mentors. You break it down in small steps, okay? So in summary, the key ways to achieve the most challenging things that you have to do, which I also apply in my life, to be honest. If you ever look at me, you wonder how I do all the things that I do, whether it's like being a fellow or being an attending physician, and then doing all this IMG education and support that I offer, having a full-time job, planning a wedding, getting married, doing all the things that I do on the social side, within my church, within my community. If you wonder how people do all the things that they do with the same 24 hours, I'm sharing what I do with you. Okay, this is it. This is what I do. Self-discipline is your number one. Self-discipline is making yourself do what you need to do in the allotted time that you gave yourself. So it's not about doing what you need to do and then taking 10 hours to do it. It's about saying, I'm going to have a webinar for 1 hour and then doing it for 1 hour. I just put myself on the spot, right? Or it's saying, I'm going to read my book, right? I'm going to read this book for 2 hours today and spending 2 hours reading, not necessarily 2 hours where I read one page, go on Instagram, go cook, go do something, come back. Self-discipline is about doing what you plan to do in the allotted time. How are you going to allot time? First, take inventory of the time that you have now. When you take inventory of the time that you have, then you'll find ways that you can, or spots where you can eliminate tasks and add tasks. And the way you eliminate tasks is by figuring out their priority. So the question you're going to ask yourself is, does what I'm doing right now get me closer to passing step 2 CK? Does what I'm doing right now get me closer to finding my research position? Is what I'm doing right now helping me in any way to become more ready for my match or my application in September, right? Because we're not going to talk about the match, we're going to talk about preparing that application. I'm done with trying to tell you guys, oh, it's about the match. It's not about the match. It's about preparing the application first. Then it's about getting interviews. Then it's about interviewing well. And then it's about ranking. And then it's the match. So we don't just hop from like 0 to 60 without addressing these little steps. So taking small steps, right? In order to take those small steps, you need to have a plan. In order to have a plan, you need to write it down. In order to write it down, you need to know what you want, right? And then you work your way backward. So another tool that I shared with you guys before was my vision board thing that I do for myself. I didn't do one yet this year. I will do one eventually. But it's just, you can have other goals. You may have goals that are spiritual, physical, social, financial, benevolent. It's great. But the purpose of today, we're focusing on academic goals as an IMG, okay? Things that you can do to help your personal development journey in order to find out where you can work on and how you can improve in your life is doing the SWOT analysis, which in your handout that I sent to you, you'll notice that this is on there as an assignment for you to do. And I want you to take this time to reflect on this yourself, okay? It's your SWOT analysis. And you can write down what you think are your current strengths, your current weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And the reason for writing these out is they help you kind of figure out what you can focus your attention on, okay? So your strengths, you definitely don't need to focus your attention on there, but it's something to be able to look back and be grateful for and appreciative of. But weaknesses are areas where you can find opportunities, okay? And then threats are areas that you need to eliminate, okay? So how can you eliminate some of those threats? Now, I want you to apply this strategy for yourself in creating your own tasks and how you're going to complete them in the little bite sizes as time goes on. So that brings me to the end of the first part of our webinar, which was just around goal planning, goal setting, and how to create your own medical success story, because that's what this is about. The IMG roadmap is primarily the goal of the IMG roadmap is to help IMGs create their own medical success stories. And there are so many ways that we do that, primarily through education and information and support. But one of the key ways, I felt like we could not start the new year without addressing our weaknesses, right? And our weaknesses are poor time management, because I was an IMG, I'm an IMG, I know that we don't manage our time well. Next, or the first, is lack of self-discipline, poor time management, procrastination, and overburdening ourselves with tasks that we think are going to get us to where we want to be, but end up just eating up our time, okay? So I want you to think about how you can incorporate today's lecture into your life, and just think about ways that you can improve yourself as an individual. And you can apply this to so many other areas. You want to work out more? Well, you need to create time for it. Look at your current schedule, remove things that are not working for you, that are not bringing you closer to working out more, and add a workout time slot on there. Get on YouTube, type out workout videos for beginners, and start doing that every day at that time. And then self-discipline would be saying, hey, I said I'm going to work out for 30 minutes, and I'm going to show up and I'm going to do it for 30 minutes and complete it, because I allotted myself 30 minutes. Okay. Same thing. If you're looking for research opportunities, well, that means you have to allocate 15, 20, 30 minutes each day where you go on the internet and you look up research opportunities for internists in Nebraska. Okay. And you start going through and reading through everything that you can find. Once 30 minutes is up, you may have found one or two websites or one or two contact information, people that you need to reach out to, and you do that. It may be 30 minutes of spending time on clinicaltrials.gov. When you go on clinicaltrials.gov, what do? You're looking for current clinical trials, looking for the people that are running the trials, looking that person up on the internet and sending them an email asking if they need help. So a lot of the research that you have to do behind the scenes, it takes time. But you can't spend 5 hours on your phone just hoping to stumble onto something, right? You need to allocate 30 minutes every Tuesday and Thursday is dedicated to my research time. And then you go after it. And you make sure that during those 30 minutes, you're not scrolling Instagram, you're not scrolling YouTube, you're not scrolling Facebook. You're focused on that time and completing that task. All right. So we have, so Jade says you never got the SWOT analysis. All right, so Kim, if you could do me a favor, make sure that everyone gets a copy of this printout. It's a, how many pages is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-page ebook that I created. It's a workbook, and it basically just helps you with your goal setting, okay? So please make sure everybody gets it, because on there it has your SWOT analysis, and then it also has how you can create SMART goals, okay? So SMART goals are goals that are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic, and they're timely, okay? So specific is, you know what you want, right? What I want is to match, right? That's what we all want, but how do I get there? Okay, first, step 1, step 2, step 3. Application, preparing my application is a huge step, right? Measurable, how do I prepare my application? Okay, I need to buy my token. I need to get letters of recommendations. How do I get letters of recommendations? I need to work with some physicians. How do I work with physicians? I need to reach out to people. I need to network. How do I network? Well, I'm going to sit in on Dr. Loom's session on networking on the IMG roadmap course, so I know how to network, right? Achievable. Are your goals achievable? Yes, they are. Because guess what? You're looking at an IMG who had a score of 198 on step 1 and had a visa and had multiple gaps in her education and had to leave the US, come back and forth. It was all this mess and still matched. On the podcast, you hear tons and tons of IMGs who have these most bizarre stories who still get into residency. So why not you? So it is realistic, right? Timely, it must have a deadline. You need to have a stop point where you're like, okay, this is my deadline. I am going to start now and I'm going to end at this time. So you can move on to the next tasks. Otherwise you get bogged down with just one thing, okay? So Kim, please make sure everybody that is on this call on this webinar gets a copy of this so that they can start working on their SMART goals, their SWOT analysis. If you want to go ahead and start doing that, so by the end of the webinar, they can get that. That's great. All right. So next thing we're going to talk about is our actual meeting, which is where we'll unmute everyone. And well, I'm actually going to pull up the questions that you guys had sent in for today's session. Let's see here. Usually if you're new here and you're visiting with us, this is what we do when we meet. We have questions that we send in and we discuss them, and everyone is open to raise their hand and chime in. So we'll go into that part of things now. Let's see here, share screen, slideshow. So January session, template for a letter of intent. I knew this question was going to come. And let's see what the next question is, how to write a strong letter of intent. So you all are thinking the same thing. And I have some content coming up for you this week on letter of intent. For your letter of intent, I want you to focus on answering one question first before you write it. And for each program that you're going to send a letter to, I want you to answer the question of why it is important for you to match there. Once you can answer that question, then only can you start to write your letter of intent. Once you can answer the question of why it is important for you to match there, only then can you write your letter of intent. So what we're going to do is, because this is a hot topic question, I'm going to open the floor here. We'll stop share. We'll come back to the slide. I'm going to open the floor and I want to hear from you. Those of you who have interviewed, those of you who have been going on interviews and doing all these different things, I want you to tell me about your top choice or the places that you're thinking about sending your letter of intent to. Pick one or two of those. And I want you to tell me why that place is where you want to train. Okay. Or why you want to go there. And then I'll help you come up with how you can write a letter of intent for that particular program. Do you guys get the drill? All right. So who's going to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. So for my top choice, I like the program because it's diverse. That's something I was looking for, not just in like skin color and race and all of that. It was mostly like the patient population, because I wanted to be able to, because I want that when I finish residency, right, I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't want to be like shocked when I have a patient. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then also I wanted people who genuinely liked me and I felt welcome there. And I felt that with my top choice. And I also like the location because I'm young and I feel like I should be in a place that I'll be comfortable living in and I won't be like scared. And I felt like that program ticked that. And also I like research and the program is very heavy on research. And I also want to put the program as my top choice because I did not contact the program for anything. I just set my application because I applied to a lot of programs and I felt like they saw me and everything I had and they still chose me, and the interview was really, really nice. So that's it for me.
So I heard diversity in patient population and maybe breadth of knowledge. I heard location. I heard that the interview went well. And I heard that you want to be in a place that you feel safe. So if I was writing a letter of intent for that program, what I would say is I'll start off with, so first things, the letter of intent should be sent to, if the program says do not send a letter of intent or send all your communication to the coordinator, then do that. Whatever the program says trumps everything I'm going to say right now. If they don't give that direction, then your letter of intent should go to your program director. And in your letter of intent, you can be very specific. You can be specific about things that happened on interview day that were the turning point for you. You can be specific about your interaction before and after interview day. You can be specific about like conversations you had with specific physicians. You can call names if you need to. So what that can look like for you could be, dear Dr. Adeye, thank you for this opportunity to finally be at the point where I'm creating my rank order list. Or you wouldn't necessarily say that because they didn't give you that opportunity, but I'm at the point where I'm creating my rank order list. And after reflecting over the last 3 months of interviewing, I've come to the decision that I want to train in OBGYN at XYZ. Okay. The reasons for my decision primarily evolve around the structure of your program, the locality of where it's the location in which it's located, the learning about your program on interview day, whatever it was for you, whether it was diversity of patient or patient care, The opportunity for research is something I'm interested in. I'm interested in academic OBGYN or whatever, and research is something that I want to grow into. And you list out the reasons why. And then you tell them one other thing that you can do in addition to the program. So for you, in your case, is your interest in research and your interest in publishing research. You're indirectly telling them what you can also do for the program. And so in that regard, it's just not you're going to be my number one, I'm going to rank you high, because everybody is saying that already. Everyone. So find something else that makes you stand out. And the best things that make you stand out are things that are unique to you. It could be, in speaking with Dr. TK on interview day, I was so impressed that he said we could do XYZ as residents, right? Whatever that was, because that's something unique. That's something specific that nobody else can say that they had. And so when you use specific references like that, you end up standing out and you make it more convincing, right? As opposed to just like, the famous line of, you're going to be my number one. Guess what? Everybody on this call who is ranking is saying the same thing. Everybody's saying you're going to be my number one. So why should I believe you? Right? So find ways to stand out, which the only way you can do that in this instance is talk about your experience with the program. I felt welcome there. I felt like it was home. I still do feel like it is home. I feel speak in the present tense. I feel welcomed at Mercy St. Joseph or whatever it is, and talk about, and if you have ties to that area, I have family in that area, you need to give them, you're pleading your case and you're saying, these are all the reasons why I want to do this. All right. So who else is going to go next?
Thank you.
Wow. It's a quiet room. Okay. So we'll go to the next point, which is the next question was how to write a strong letter of intent. So we've talked about that. What are some important things to consider when creating the rank list? So when creating your rank list, there are key questions that I want you to answer first. The biggest one is, do you want to train there? Do you want to live there for 3 to 4 years, 5 years? Do you feel like this is where you want to be? But the next thing that you should consider, and this is also depending on where you see your career going, is this program going to help you get to where you want to be? So you may not have a complete perspective of what you want your career to look like, but you have an idea. So is this program going to be the program that's going to help me get into fellowship? Is it going to be the program that's going to, help me build my goals of becoming an academic hospitalist or academic OBGYN? Is this program going to really help me get research? Because I want to be a researcher. I want to be a professor someday, right? Think about your bottom line, your personal ambition. Are they going to help you get there? And then the next thing I want to think about is your family and yourself. Are you going to be happy moving away from wherever you're located to be in this place? Is there family for you in that area? And maybe you're an IMG from another country and you're in another country applying and you don't care. So just skip that part, because that was me. I didn't care about location. But if you have family, you want to definitely consider that. Okay. And then you can consider your interaction with the program on interview day. I'm not talking about the post-interview interaction, because everyone is saying courtesy things. Thank you for coming to interview with us. But you can tell when a program actually goes out of their way to tell you that they want you at their program versus when it's just being generic. And it's in how they say it. Thank you, you'll be a great fit to our program. No, no, no. It's different if the program director writes out to you and says, we really want you to come here. Or they keep communication with you in one way or the other after interview day. Those are better signs to look out for, okay? Now, I'll caution you though, that a lot of people have been bitten in the back by post-interview communication, thinking that that's going to open up doors for them, and it doesn't, or it did not. But, programs are going to say what they're going to say, they're going to do what they're going to do. So you should not necessarily not rank a program because they sent you an email or did not send you an email. But you just want to take that with a grain of salt and listen to your own intuition and your instincts about how you think that you were perceived at the program. But do rank where you want to be, because the rank list is really in favor of the applicant. I'll say that again. The rank order list is in favor of the applicant. So contrary to what you may think, programs don't have the upper hand. You do. And so that means don't play tricks, don't play games. If you want to be at a program, rank them high. And if you don't want to be at a program, rank them low. And if you don't have options and you have only one or two, then rank the one you like the most on the top. Now, another tactic that I used was I listened to my inner intuition, and I went with the program that I knew I was going to match at because of my interactions with them on interview day. So there were two locations I wanted. And there were two places that invited me for interview, and two locations, one out of which I wanted because it was more urban. There was more to do in that area. And that's what I wanted. But my perception of my interview day interaction was that it was not as favorable as the second location. The second location was not in an area that I'd ever been to, and it was in a smaller state, in a less diverse state, and I could have very easily shied away from that and gone to what was familiar. But after my interview, I had to be honest with myself and tell myself, which of these programs am I most likely to match into? And unfortunately, it was the one in the less desirable location, let's put it that way. But they're all great programs. They have graduated physicians. They continue to graduate physicians. There were some perks with the one I did not really like. It had the university affiliation with it. And I ended up going with the program that I thought would rank me higher, not the one that I wanted to live in, because their interaction with me was very cold. There was nothing remarkable about the interview. I don't remember anything about the interview till date. I do, on the other hand, remember everything about my interview with the program that I went to residency with. So you can tell when you have an instinct or your intuition tells you, what chances you have if your list is short. Now, if your list is long, then please consider your happiness, consider your personal and professional goals. If this program is going to get you there, are they going to help you with your visa, if that's important to you? Are they going to be able to help you with fellowship, if that's important to you? Are they going to be able to train you in the way that you want to be trained? Do you like more hands-on? Do you like more autonomy? Or do you like to be shown how to do things a little bit more? Were the residents supportive? Is this an environment that you see yourself working in? Those are key questions that you should answer. If the residents were cold and not nice, they're not going to change when you match there. So, if you have another option that you prefer, go for that. But the key to creating a rank list lies in your intuition. Unfortunately, that's the truth. But beyond that, you can be smart about it, and you can pinpoint things that you want like location, proximity to family, professional goals, and look at their past record. Look at who they've graduated. Do you want to be those people? Where are they now? What are they doing? And those things can help you kind of put together what's important for yourself. So next question is, do you think a standardized letter of evaluation for IM will be mandatory? I don't know. I don't know the answer. We'll have to wait and see, unfortunately. I don't think it'll be mandatory yet. But what do we know? You know, there was a year where we had no coronavirus, and look at where we're at. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. Can I request a standardized letter from an attending who has already written an LOR? For me, yes, you can. There are no rules against that to the best of my knowledge. When should we send a letter of intent to our #1 program? And do we contact the other programs we interviewed at, or is it okay to not communicate with them after sending a thank you letter? I think if a program is going to be on your rank list, you should let them know, because you also want them to have you on your rank list. So how does the rank, do you guys know how the match works? Do you know how the match works? Nobody's responding in the chat. Okay. Okay. So, okay, good. So let me share with you a little bit about the match, because I think sometimes you have to understand that first. The match is an algorithm. And a lot of people get upset at programs that told them they were going to match there, and then they didn't match. And they think the program played them, or they were dishonest. The truth is, a lot of programs are going to rank you. Okay. The key is in where they rank you. So if you have a #1, doesn't mean you're not going to rank other programs, right? You're going to rank multiple other ones. The key is in telling them that you'll also be ranking them, so that if you don't get your #1, you can get your #2. So the way that the match works is, we're going to use IMG-A and IMG-B. Okay. IMG-A applies to so many programs, gets 5 interviews. IMG-B applies to so many programs, gets 10 interviews. IMG-A creates a rank list and says, based on what's going to sponsor my visa, location, how I felt, opportunities after residency, I'm going to rank program A, program D as #1, and they create a list, right, from 1 to 5. IMG-B also creates a list from 1 to 10. Now, the match's job is to take IMG-A and B up to, however many IMGs are in the match, including US students, and take all the programs, what they do is they also say, okay, we interviewed IMG-A, B, C, D, E, D, F. We're going to rank them according to how we want them to come to a program. So they match if they have 12 spots, they're going to match the top 12 that they want. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. And then they're going to they're going to add multiples of 12s after that. So they'll add the first 12 that they want, and then they'll put the next 12 that they want, and the next 12 that they want. So they have 12, 24 people on their list, right? The next thing you know, they have 36 people on their list, and so on and so forth in multiples of 12. So a program with 12 applicants, they choose how many they want to rank, and they do that based on their experience and what they want. So a program with 12 spots may rank 100 people, 120, 80, whatever number that they choose, right? A program has only 12 spots, so only 12 people are going to get in there. IMGs have also ranked their programs accordingly and said, I want to be in this, I want to be here, 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 here. Another IMG ranks their own programs here, 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 here. The computer says, okay, Mercy Health, we're just taking hypothetically Mercy Health, right? Mercy Health has this list. Nina Loom has 5 programs on her list. And it goes to work. It says, is Nina Loom #1 on Mercy Health? If Nina Loom is #1 on Mercy Health's list, and Nina Loom had Mercy Health as #1 on her list, there is a match, right? Now, if Sydney Reed also had Mercy Health as number 1. There's a match. Okay. If Rose Elizabeth also had Mercy Health as number 1, there's a match. If Megan Benaby had Mercy Health as number 1, there's a match. Now, it will do that until 12 positions are filled. Now, if Nina Loom had Mercy Health as number 1 and Sydney Reed had Northwestern as number 1 and Mercy Health as number 10, Sydney Reed would only match into Mercy Health after all the people who are number 1, like who ranked it high enough, have taken their spots, because it was not her number 1. That's why the rank works in your favor. So on the flip side, if you do not rank a program, you can never match there because you never put them on the list. And so that's why I would say, even if you're writing to programs a letter of intent and telling them you want to come there, you should send some kind of letter or email to the programs that you will have on your rank list so that they know that you are on their rank list. You don't have to lie, okay, to say that you're my number 1, but you can tell them why you would want to match there just as much as you would for your number 1. Because deep down inside of you, yeah, you have number 1, but people don't always get their number 1. You get number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, but it's on your list, meaning you want to go there. So your letter of intent should tell them why you want to be there. And you can use vague terminology and say higher on the rank list. Or you could just talk about why you're going to be there or why you're going to enjoy being there and leave it at that. Okay. So until you get clarity on how the match works, sometimes it's hard to identify why it's important to delineate what you want. Someone asked, can you ask how many students the program will match during the interview? You can. I don't see why not. I think you can. I mean, it's a good question. If you want to know, you can ask. Yes, absolutely. Another question is, what is your view on programs who said they're offering pre-match? I think a pre-match is a great thing. A pre-match is a way to escape the anxiety of going through the match. I think that the pre-match is a program that knows what they want. If you get a pre-match offer, it means they want you there. And if you like them, then it's great. If you don't like them, you decline. But a pre-match does not speak about the program. It says nothing about the program because they will match people into their program anyways. But the question then is, they want to match the people that they want. They don't want to go through the algorithm. And the reason why programs do pre-match is because they know that the rank list works in your favor. So if you don't like them as much, you put them low and they will not get you. So then they give you a pre-match offer so that they don't have to deal with that, right? And so I actually heard, so I was rotating on trauma surgery, and the program director for the trauma surgery critical care, he actually said the same thing. He was like, this whole process works for the applicant more so than the program, because they want to fill their positions as much as you want to get into residency. And they're afraid that they're not going to fill their positions, right? Because people like other things. You may think you're a great program, but the applicants that you want don't want you. And so a pre-match is always an attempt for them to not lose a good applicant. A pre-match does not speak to whether it's a low quality program or a not competitive program. Those are all inferences that are incorrect. So yeah, so Toyo C says she heard that sending an email that you love the program and rank them highly just lets the program know that you are not their number 1. Yeah, I mean, they're not new to this, right? They're not new to this whole process. These people have been doing this for years, 20 years, some of them. So they know all the tricks of the trade. That's why I think you should speak from a place of why you want to go there. Make it about why you want to go there. Because if I'm telling you why I want to come to your house, you're not asking me anymore if I'm coming to your house, right? I'm just telling you, this is why I want to be at your house. And I hope that you want me at your house. That's the key. So yes, your words matter. The words that you use matter. I think everybody's tired of hearing number one. Number one doesn't mean anything, to be honest. Like, no, people are no longer moved when you tell them you want them to be your number one, or like programs are no longer moved by that, because imagine getting 100 plus emails from students telling you that they're all of them are your number one. Like everybody's a number one. Would you believe that? Question for you. So I'm gonna unmute Kim, if you can unmute all so that we can allow for some questions and discussion. I've been speaking by myself all evening. I'm feeling kind of lonely. I think that we should use this for what it's supposed to be, which is a discussion.
Oh, hi, Nina Loom. My name is Jade. I'm from Barbados. So I graduated in 2015. So I have experience in anesthesia and emergency medicine, but I made the decision to transition so I can do US exams. My question is obviously I'm now focused on my step one, but I'm not sure what are the best tools for me to complete and be successful on my first pass, because I want to match anesthesia, which can be quite challenging. I know that's not the basis of this webinar here, but because I'm not at that position yet in terms of matching and ranking, but I still need to pass my small step of passing step one first before I can move on. Additionally, I actually took time off from my work so I can study. So I will have a year gap where I am intentional, probably trying to do educational, meaning medical education, so that I can look good on my CV or something else, because I still want to CV build during this time. And what would be your advice for me?
So the first common misconception, Jade, for physicians like you from other countries is that they feel like they have to stop everything they're doing in order to get into the US system. And that's a lie. You want to keep practicing in Barbados until the very last moment. You may cut down on your hours, but please, please keep your privileges. The reason being, that is your CV builder right there. Especially if you're transitioning into the same specialty here, you don't need to switch to do anything else. And even if you're transitioning to another specialty here, you still don't need to stop what you're doing. That's the first step. Now, regarding how you can study for your first big task, or how you can prepare for your first big task, before you start, remember what I said. Sometimes we take on too many things in order to cut off, because we think that we have to do all those things. We take on more responsibility than we can actually handle. In my opinion, the only thing you should be worried about right now is step one. I don't want you doing anything else besides step one and doing your job, okay? So if you were working at a hospital 20 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 12 hours, whatever, keep doing that and study for step one. That's it. I don't want you trying to do everything else while doing step one, because what happens is you don't have time. And the 10 hours you could dedicate to study, now you're splitting it between study and volunteering and all this other stuff, okay? The CV builders, which is what I teach inside the IMG roadmap course, are beyond the topic of today. It takes, there's so many things you can do with your CV. But in order to take your small steps for you right now, your only task right now is step one study. Step one study should involve using a QBank. I used USMLE World. There's Smash USMLE as well. And breaking down the QBank into bite sizes. So if there are 2,500 questions in your QBank, you can say, I have up until March of 2022 to take step one, right? Maybe that's a deadline you set for yourself, or maybe not. Maybe it's February 15th, or maybe it's March 30th, right? So I have 60 days. I have 2,500 questions in my Q bank. In 60 days, that means 41 questions a day. But I'm just not going to go through questions because I want to go through questions, right? The way that you use a Q bank, you should use a Q bank as an educational tool. So the first time you go through a Q bank, you probably want to go through it in a study mode, okay? Which means you click the question, you do the answer, it gives you the response, you learn from that before you move on to the next thing. I usually get a notebook, okay? And I'm past all of this right now, but I'm studying for my EM boards. So this is what I do. I get a notebook like this, and I do my Q bank in tutor mode. So what that means is I do one question, I look at the question, get the answer. I read the STEM. So you know, when you get the A, B, C, D, E, and all the things you got wrong, or the ones you got right, I read through those responses and learn from those other options. Because the reason they're testing that one concept is because they want to see if you can pinpoint amongst a pool of things. Because a patient is going to present to you with shortness of breath, but then it's not COVID. It could be 100 million things, right? So that's what they're doing on the test. So when you're reading through the question stem and the answer in your notebook, you're going to make notes about what you're learning, which is usually around the educational objective. If you encounter a question that you feel like, I don't really know, I don't understand this concept, I don't understand this topic, or whatever, what you can do then is you find your video resource, okay? Your video resource could be anything. Some people use Boards and Beyond, Pathoma, whatever. Kaplan videos, whatever. But find one video resource that you can say, okay, I'm gonna pause my Q bank right now, and I'm gonna go over here and watch the video about the brachial plexus, because this whole question over here was asking me about the brachial plexus, and it gave me so many options and I got confused. What does that tell me? It means I don't remember the brachial plexus from anatomy class. So I go find that video section on Boards and Beyond or whatever resource that you're going to use for video, and I watch that. And I make sure that as I'm watching that, I'm looking for the high yield points that the person is teaching me. And I'm writing notes. So then my notebook ends up looking like number one. What was that question on? Brachial plexus. And then a review of brachial plexus, which could be about half a page, okay? Before I move on to the next. When I move to the next question and it's an easy question, I don't spend that much time. I just go over the educational objective, make some notes, and go to the next thing. The point of making notes is so you can review them, right? I'm gonna mute everybody because we're getting some background sound. The point of making notes is so you can review them. You don't make notes to just toss them to the side. You make notes so you can later on come back and read that. Maybe it's at night when you're laying in your bed and you're going through your notes, or maybe it's on the bus, or maybe it's on Sunday, you're stuck in this function and you don't want to be there, or maybe it's something else that you're doing, you're on a trip. You can take your notes with you, okay? And then towards the exam, when you've gone through the Q bank, and that's your first go round, okay? So that's your first go around with the Q bank, right? For 41 per day, or it could be 60. You can stretch your goal. You know, you can go stretch your goal and say 60, 70, 80. Okay, you can do whatever. The second time around, you do it in time mode. Now you're working on your speed and efficiency, okay? The third time, you don't even need to do it a third time, but if you do, then it's just, again, trying to see if you can only do the incorrect questions. If you're going through your Q bank a third time, don't be doing the correct questions. Just leave those alone. Do a third round of only incorrects, the ones I got incorrect. Now, between those times you're running through your Q bank, okay, you will be doing NBMEs, which you can find them, Google NBME, you find them online, you buy a thing and you do it, okay? And you take it, you assess your readiness. There are charts on the internet that give you relative scores. Like if you have the score, it means maybe this on the USMLE. They're not always accurate, but they give you a starting point. They give you a level of confidence, okay? Now, another thing, when you're just starting out your step studying, I do this. I recommend that you take one NBME before you even start your QBank. The reason to do that is so you assess your overall readiness and you see where you fall. Especially if you're a physician that's already been practicing in another country. What this tells you is like, if this was the USM Elite today and I didn't study, here's where I'll fall. But you know what happens? A lot of you are afraid to do that. You're afraid to just take an MBA. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do bad. Yes, do bad. Do bad. What do you lose? Who is gonna see you? Who is gonna see your score? Nobody. You're the only one that's gonna see your score. So what if you do bad? So take that challenge for yourself. Feel bad. There's something, nobody has died from feeling bad. Okay. Nobody's gonna die from feeling bad. You feel bad, you cry, you whatever. And what? Right? Nobody dies from feeling bad. So you take the NBME, right? And then you see how you do. And then you take that fear and that anger of doing bad and attack your QBank. So that when you finish your QBank the first time, you do another NBME and you will see what? Progress. Your first NBME, maybe you did 40%. Your next NBME, maybe you're doing 65, 70%. You're ready. By the time you know your third NBME, which is your last one, you're 80%. And I think once you're 80% and over, you're getting 80% questions correctly, you're ready for the test, in my opinion. So did I answer your question, Doctor?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so who's going next? Let's see if we have any questions in the chart. Oh, Monique says, I found myself reading my notes most times on the bus. And Monique was doing that from South America. So it's possible. It's possible. She took the course last year, so she knows what she's talking about. Doreen asks, when are you taking the next cohort of students for the IMG roadmap? Good question. The next cohort, we start taking our registrations in March of this year. So I'm going to go ahead and just tell you right now, this year, we're going all out, okay? So if you want to be a part, make sure you sign up on the wait list. Everything is, I mean, we're going all out. So Kim, please drop the link for the wait list in the chat so that they can sign up. It's a 6-week program where we spend time just like this, interacting with one another. And I help you work on your application. Okay, we start early in the year because a lot of you wait till September to start your application. And then you stress everybody out because you are not ready yourself and you don't even know how to be ready. So we start early, okay? The price is also gonna go up this year, okay? I'm just telling you guys, being honest with y'all, because I put a lot into this course, a lot, and my students would tell you that. So things are changing around the IMG roadmap. We're getting higher quality material, also getting you good results as well. But yeah, that's the detail on the course. And all right, Shantae says she added a name to the wait list. Great, you'll get emails about it. Another thing about emails, please check your junk because Kim says she sent out the book to everyone. So if you haven't seen the book in your email, please check your junk folder and remove me from your junk folder. What do I mean by that? Mark me as important so that when my emails come to you, they actually show up in your inbox. If you don't know how to do that, just go on YouTube and type how to remove someone from junk folder, and it would tell you how to remove person from junk folder. So we have some more questions. Is doing and publishing research in my home country as valuable as doing in the US? Oh my God, Anna. Okay. Yes, it is. It is. The reason why is you're not an expert. That is the reason. Program directors are not looking to train experts, okay? They're looking to train students. Most students are expected to have a fundamental understanding of research. Fundamental. fundamental. You don't see any students publishing necessarily as first author in New England Journal. You don't see any student publishing necessarily as first author in BMJ. Professors, seasoned researchers. So start where you are planted. One of the most common misconceptions I see amongst IMGs is thinking that they have to do everything in the States in order to get to the States. Case in point, I just interviewed Dr. Agarwal today for the podcast because the podcast is back. And if you're not listening to it, I don't know what you're doing, but you should go on the podcast wherever, get your phone out, type in IMG Roadmap on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and you'll see the IMG Roadmap podcast. But I interviewed a physician today who is a PGY1 psych resident who had never been to the US. She used to text me from India, okay? Since 2019, we've been texting back and forth. She applied for residency in India without doing one US clinical rotation in the States. She had one telehealth rotation, which was a great opportunity. And even before her telehealth rotation, she reached out to me. I was like, Dr. Room, should I do a telehealth? It's not in person. And I'm like, girl, we're seeing patients virtually here. This is the norm of the day. So why would you not do a telehealth rotation? And she did it. And that opened up doors for her because her attending really liked her, wrote her a letter, and it just trickled down to so many things. She's currently doing psych, PGY1 psych, okay? Her first time in the US was the day she flew in to start residency. She interviewed virtually. She did not do any rotations. She did not have any US experience, yet she matched. But you know what? She had been doing psych research in India. Because programs are not looking for experts. Programs are looking for students that know the fundamentals of research. Your best research is going to come after you become an attending. Just remember that. Okay, let's take another question. Ayana, you want to know if someone's trying to transition to fellowships. So there are fellowships in the United States that will take an IMG from another country and they will train you, but you cannot practice without residency in the States. Case in point, you can come in and do a nephrology fellowship at a program that offers fellowships to international students. You can come in and do a shoulder surgery fellowship after your orthopedic surgery fellowship in your country. You can come in and do any fellowship you want, but you'll be leaving to go back to apply that knowledge in your country, and that is perfectly fine. If you are coming in to do the fellowship in order to stay and practice in the US, you'll still have to go back and do the preliminary requirement for residency for that specialty before you can practice. Now, if that was not the question, and your question was if it's the same process for application, yes, it is the same. Through ERAS, they have a list of requirements, letters, interview, match, the same process. Miranda, your question is, would you be able to watch the sessions back on the live IMG Roadmap course? So those of you on this class, can you tell Miranda how it works? Can somebody else tell her? Yes, when we do our sessions, these are recorded and we save them, and you can come back and watch it whenever you want, and you have your own access to the portal where you have all the replays available. So you guys tell her in the chat, those of you who are part of the IMG Roadmap, help me. Like, all I'm asking you to do is help me today. I haven't asked you for anything else, okay? Help explain to her how it's worked for you, because sometimes people like to hear from your perspective, not just mine. Okay, when should I start looking for mentors? Now, yesterday, okay? Mentorship is not something you start looking for the year you want to match. Mentorship is not something you start looking for the year you want to match. The reason is you need relationship. Relationship is not built overnight. Okay. Relationship is not built overnight. A lot of us on this call who know one another from the course and whatnot, it's because we've spent time together. That's why we keep coming back for these sessions, right? Relationships are not built overnight. So if you are looking for a mentor, you should have started yesterday. So now is the right time, is what I'm saying. Now is always the right time, always. If you're outside of the States, social media, med Twitter. Okay. Another way is you can join the organization of the specialty that you're interested in. If you are interested in pediatrics, actually, Miranda, what are you interested in? Why don't you tell us? Tell us what you're interested in. Whatever you're interested in, there is an organization for that specialty here.
Hi, Dr. Loom. I'm just going to talk because I've been typing so much. I think I want to go into anesthesia, but the way medicine works in the UK is that we don't get to do clinical stuff until halfway through the degree. So I'm just about to start my rotations next month, actually. So I think that's what I want to do from little experiences I've had so far, but I'm not 100% sure. So that's why I'm asking when I should find the mentor, because I do have some people who have matched in the US that do mentor me, but I don't think their specialty is the one I want to go into.
Yeah. And you can learn from someone who is not of your specialty. You can definitely learn from someone who's not of your specialty. Now, the advantage of having someone in your specialty is that they can shift from being a mentor to a sponsor. What that means is they are calling people on your behalf. They're directing you to specific people that can, they're positioning you, right, with specific people that can take your name to program directors. And they can also give you specialty specific advice, but you can start with what you have. You can look through your alumni directory for your school and determine if there's anybody that's done anesthesiology in the States. That's another way. You can go to the American, I think it's ASA, Anesthesiology Society, and look for mentorship through that channel. A lot of them have mentorship opportunities for their members. So you'll have to be an international member. Michelle says, what would you recommend for a student that's MD2 basic science? MD2, find your one task. Michelle, what's your one task as MD2? What's your one task?
My one task is achieving the highest grades that I can,
Okay.
being honors.
Yes, and that's all you're going to focus on right now. That's it. If you wanted to go spend Sunday evening or afternoon volunteering at the local hospital for 1 or 2 hours, it's not going to change your bottom line of your one task, right? If you wanted to, on your vacation, spend some time with a physician that you are seeking to have them mentor you and you want to shadow them, you can do that for 1 week. It's not going to change your bottom line. But your one task is your exams. And your school exams are adding up to USMLE Step 1. So when you do well in your school exams, chances are you're studying well enough to do well on Step 1. So your one task is what you have at hand. Focus on that. Don't get so bogged down by the future because you'll miss everything there is about the present. I think a lot of times I went to Caribbean school. And so, you know, I am so thankful that I did not have social media when I was in medical school because I didn't have anything to look forward to. Sounds kind of bad, but I did not have anything to look forward to in the sense that there was no trepidation around all these things that had to happen. I was just focused on one thing at a time. So just focus on your exams for now. And then
I also,
Yeah.
sorry. I just wanted to ask because like right now, I just jumped in and I've been super involved. Like I became like vice president of the SGA. I wanted to start like an ethics club and I wanted to do a research project and I already started with like a professor. I wanted to know if that's important right now or if I should just set all of that aside and just focus on my grades. Like, do any of these extracurriculars really matter in the basic science portion of my academic career?
So in my opinion, it does not. That's my opinion. And the reason I say that is if you fail your exam, it wouldn't matter that you were the president of the SGA. If you fail step 1, it wouldn't matter you were the president of the SGA. Now, you can still become an SGA person in M4 and M5 and still get credit for working with the SGA without spending your valuable time on a less meaningful task. In a sense, says it's got to run back to the awards. It has been valuable. Yes, I'm happy that it's valuable for you. Thank you so much for telling me that it's valuable for you. It helps me get more vigor to continue to do what I do. Because sometimes if it's not valuable, then I don't want to waste my time either, right? So thank you for telling me that. I really appreciate that. At what stage can I take the IMG roadmap course? Because as an MS1, I'm an MS1, but need research on the step exams as well as the application process. I think that you can take it this year because the things that you learn. So one of the things I've heard from my students is that they wish they took it earlier because they learned so many things, but there was no time to apply them. And if I'm wrong, guys, call me out in the comments, please. Call me out in the chat. And if you're my student and you feel like that, share that also. Should my mentor be in the specialty I want to match in? If so, what do I do if I'm not 100% decided? No, they must not be in the specialty you want to match in. You can start with whomever you can get, and then later on, that person can connect you with another person. Think about that. Who do you think in terms? And you can have more than one mentor. There's no rule that says you only need one mentor, right? You can have one mentor that leads you to another mentor, leads you to another mentor. Mentorship is about building relationships. So just focus on building one relationship with one physician that you have in your hand. And when you have a relationship with them, you can ask them, can you introduce me to an anesthesiologist? How about that? What do I think in terms of taking step 1 again, but it being pass fail? So if you failed step 1 and you have to do it now as pass fail, I think you should just do it. I think step 2 is still going to be a numerical score. I think, by the way, did you listen to today's podcast? Because the podcast today is about this pass fail. And I go into detail about really what I think about what's going to happen. So listen to the entire thing. But in summary, there's still going to be an opportunity for you to show a high numerical score. It's called step 2. So thank you guys for joining. It's 6:22. We're 22 minutes over time. I hope this experience was great for you. If you're new here and you joined in today, please remember that you can become a part of us in March of this year by taking the course, just like everybody on this call has. If you are an OG and have been riding with me, I love you. And I'm wishing you the very best as you rank and plan towards the next steps. How do you get the podcast? The podcast is available, Bharat. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, Google, anywhere where you listen to your favorite stories. It's also on my website. So yeah, just type in the IMG Roadmap podcast. Kim, can you drop some links here for the people so they can get the IMG Roadmap podcast? Okay. The new prices will be updated on the website in February. So thank you guys so much for joining in. I really appreciate your time, spending your time with me and joining in. Hakeem says, when are you gonna, I'll update the prices in February. and it will be, don't worry, I'll make it easy for you. Don't worry, guys. Don't you worry. Oh, I missed the question. What can I graduate who? What can a graduate who recently started preparing for step 1 look like? Okay, I think you maybe joined the webinar late. We went over how you can start your step 1 study. So look out for the replay of this. We'll actually put this on YouTube because it was an open session. Toyosi, don't worry, it'll be fine. We'll put this on, or we can put it on the course platform also, but you guys don't have access to the course platform, those of you who are visiting, so you won't be able to watch it on there. So I'll have to find a way of putting it on YouTube so that you can watch it on there. And we went into your question in detail. Okay, so we're not going to repeat the answer right now. I'm sorry. Hey, your podcast is fire. Thank you. Yes, you can text me on my number on Instagram. It takes me a while to respond because my phone is here, but people text me all the time. So I take my time and I go one from the next, but I do respond eventually. Barrett, you registered for my course but didn't get any response. Can you send an email to admin@imgroadmap.com, Barrett? Please do. admin@imgroadmap.com. Please go ahead and send an email to that so we can fix this. I don't know. Yes, send me an email with the problem and I'll fix it. Yes, be intentional about what you want. All right, so thank you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the other side. So next month you get your notification. Next month is not open to the public, okay? Next month is only for the IMG roadmappers. You get your notification on a date and time. All right. All right, Apuva, I'm glad to hear that. All right, very well. Bye, guys.